Afternoon. Hi, this is Alok Ojha. Welcome to StudyIQ IS English. We are going through Modern Indian History series. And guys, by now we had covered different aspects of modern Indian history. In the past session, we had seen about one of the most important events of the modern Indian history led by Mahatma Gandhi, and that was civil disobedience movement. We had also seen the comparative analysis of another movement, that is non-cooperation movement and civil disobedience movement, in the previous session. Today's session again won't be much longer. It is 30 to 35 minute, maximum 40-minute session. So please stick in the video till the end, because here we are going to discuss two major aspects here. Specifically speaking, we are going to discuss three topics. That is Roundtable Conference, apart from this the Communal Award and the Karachi session of Indian National Congress. But the two major aspects that we need to focus on is the Karachi session, where for the first time fundamental rights and economic planning were at the core of the discussion. And second, the Communal Award. Guys, those who are new to the platform can watch my previous videos on modern Indian history. Apart from this, I have also taken many sessions, approximately around 15 to 16 sessions on ancient Indian history, and covered diversified topics right from prehistoric culture to Gupta age. Correct, guys? Another important information, many aspirants have a doubt or a question where to download the PDF of the session from. One can download the PDF of the session from my Telegram channel, history_Alok Ojha. I repeat, history_Alok Ojha. Okay, guys? Now, without wasting any more time, let's begin with our today's discussion on roundtable conferences. So first, roundtable conference. Now, before I start with roundtable conferences, let me give you some important aspects which we have discussed previously, so that those who are watching the previous videos, they can also correlate things and the events of the past. And apart from this, those who are watching the session for the first time, they can also correlate the previous incidents or the events that we have discussed previously. Okay? Now, I'll start from Government of India Act 1919. Government of India Act 1919, also referred as Montego-Chelmsford reforms. As per Government of India Act 1919, diarchy was introduced in the provinces. And after few years, particularly, what is the meaning of the word diarchy? Diarchy basically means rule of two. So, the subjects were categorized into two parts, the central subjects and the provincial subjects. Central subjects approximately had 47 subjects. On the other hand, the provincial subjects approximately had around 50 subjects. So, as I have told you, diarchy was introduced in the provinces. So, the provincial subjects were divided into two parts. That is reserved and transferred. On reserved subject, the law was being made by Governor General and his Executive Council. And on transferred subject, the law was being made by Governor General and Indian ministers. Few years later, there came a committee in India headed by Sir Alexander Muddiman. And the basic purpose of the Alexander Muddiman committee was to review the working of diarchy at the provincial level. Government of India Act 1919 had another important clause, and that clause was specifically that a commission would be appointed in India after 10 years, and the basic purpose of that commission would be to review the working of the entire Government of India Act 1919, or the Montego-Chelmsford reforms. The commission came up in the form of Simon Commission. It was heavily criticized commission by the nationalists of all the ranks, because the commission had come in India for constitutional reconstruction, and there wasn't any single Indian member in the commission. All the 7 members, Sir John Simon, Clement Attlee, Cadogan, everyone were Englishmen. Commission, wherever it went throughout India, Bombay, Pune, Lucknow, Vijayawada, Lahore, it was greeted with black flags and the slogans were being raised, Simon, go back. Another important event that took place here was Nehru Report and Jinnah's 14-point plan. At that time, Conservative Secretary of State for India, Lord Birkenhead, had given the permission to the Indians to frame their own constitution, and the deadline that was being decided was 31st December 1929. Deadline got over, and Indians could not come up with the constitution because there was internal dissension between different political parties in India, particularly the Indian National Congress and All India Muslim League. Then comes the series of round table conferences in India. The series of round table conferences in London, not in India. Okay. At this particular point of time, Mahatma Gandhi, before launching the civil disobedience movement, had given 11-point ultimatum to the Britishers. And he said, if these 11 demands are unheard, I will start a movement in India on a wide scale. Finally, these 11 demands fell on a deaf ear, and Mahatma Gandhi initiated the Dandi Yatra or Dandi March on 12th of March from Sabarmati Ashram. Finally, on 6th April, he broke the salt law at Dandi, which is again located in Gujarat. And he said, with this, I shake the foundations of British Empire in India. And he began the civil disobedience movement on pan-India basis. Meanwhile, in London, series of roundtable conferences were being arranged. And the reason for arranging the series of roundtable conference from 1930 to 32 were these events, because there was a strong demand in the country, particularly for dominion status, for self-rule. And in fact, in 1930 itself, Lahore session 1929, Purna Swaraj resolution was being drafted. And Purna Swaraj here means complete independence. So the demand for independence, the demand for dominion status as per Nehru report, the demand for self-rule had taken a peak in India. And now Britishers, they wanted to come up with a solution to this. Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Tej Bahadur Sapru, they met at that time Viceroy Lord Irwin. And series of roundtable conferences were being arranged. And for the first time, Indians and Britishers were sitting as equals. So the first roundtable conference, it was majorly attended by all the Indian political parties except Congress. Okay. Now, particularly speaking, the conference was being chaired by the Prime Minister at that time, Ramsay MacDonald. And there were 16 delegates from the side of Britishers. And these 16 delegates belong to different political parties, particularly Conservative, Labour and Liberal Party. Correct? Particularly 57 political leaders representing different political parties of India participated here. Particularly the Muslim League, Anglo-Indian, Sikh, European, Women Section, Parsis. Apart from this, the depressed class represented by B.R. Ambedkar. And there were different issues that were being discussed. Now, what were the major issues that were being discussed in the first roundtable conference? Let's have a look at them. Here, I have mentioned the different leaders who participated in the first roundtable conference from India. For example, Indian Liberal Party was being represented by Tej Bahadur Sapru. Indian States Representative, it was participated by the Maharajas of different princely states. Maharaja of Bhopal, Maharaja of Jammu and Kashmir, Chief Sahib of Sangli, and so on. Sardar Ujjal Singh represented the Sikh section, Firoz Sethna, Parsi section. Okay, apart from this, the Indian Christians were being represented by K.T. Paul. Okay, so these are the important delegates that participated, correct, particularly in the first round table conferences. So it's a factual thing. But let's come back to the conceptual part of this. In first round table conferences, what were the major things that were being discussed? Let's have a look at this. Federal structure. I'll go back to Simon Commission so that we can have a clear analytical understanding of this concept. Now, what is true federalism? You might have heard in polity, you might have studied in polity that India is a quasi-federal country. We have a quasi-federal constitution. What does that states? It simply states that we have a center and the states. Center has the autonomy to make the law and so does the states. but state's law cannot surpass the center's law. Simple words, strong center and weak state. On the other hand, Simon Commission wanted to promote regionalism, and regionalism, guys, is an antidote to nationalism. How did it promoted regionalism? The states were given the authority, the provinces were given authority, including making law. So what will happen in that case? The provinces will start getting more stronger in comparison to the center. And this will promote regionalism, which is an antidote to nationalism. Federal structure, a true federal structure was being discussed here. Provincial constitution, the provinces should also be given the authority to make the law, minority rights, defense services and franchisee. As I have told you, separate electorate was given to the Muslims for the first time in 1909. This separate electorate was further extended to Sikh, Anglo-Indians and Europeans in Government of India Act 1919, also referred as Montego-Chelmsford reforms. But what about the franchisee? What about the voting rights? Let's go back to 1892. In 1892, the minimum number of members in the Imperial Legislative Council was 10. Please understand so that we can correlate things. The minimum number of members were 10. And later on, the minimum was 10, maximum was 16. These 10 or 16 were not directly elected. They were being indirectly elected. There was a body or a lobby consisting of the members of municipalities, local governments, zamindars, moneylenders, chamber of commerce, and so on, university district boards. So these members elected the members of the Imperial Legislative Council. Okay. In Government of India Act 1919, there was a clause. And what was that? We had studied that clause in quite depth and detail. Anyone who has a taxable income of 3,000 rupees has the right to vote. As per different historians, as per different analysts, at that time, rarely 18 to 20,000 people had the right to vote, because a taxable income of 3,000 rupees was quite high. Correct? So here a demand was universal franchisee. Simple words, 21 years of age should be the criteria for voting. Correct? Executive's responsibility to the legislature. Now, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar now demanded, now this will become the major clause of contention between the Indian National Congress and the depressed classes being represented by B.R. Ambedkar ji. And what was that particularly? B.R. Ambedkar demanded separate electorate for minorities. As discussed earlier, separate electorate particularly was given to the Muslim in 1909, extended to Sikh, Europeans and Anglo-Indians in 1919. What is separate electorate? I have explained this time and again in the previous sessions, but I'll explain it again. For example, in a constituency, there are 100 members. Out of 100 members, suppose there are 70 people who belong to the depressed section and 30 persons are the persons from the other community. If a constituency is reserved for separate electorate, the candidate who will stand for election will belong to that community. And secondly, the voter will also belong to that community. In simple words, suppose if this constituency is declared as a constituency for the depressed class, the candidate standing for elections would be from the depressed class. And the voters again here would be from the depressed class. Hope the points are clear, guys. Separate electorate and reservation of seats. It's an important concept. Hope the points are clear. Okay. So finally, there was no major output of the first roundtable conference. And the reason being, the major political party, Indian National Congress, did not participate in the first roundtable conference. Why? Because Indian National Congress had started a massive movement in India in the form of civil disobedience movement led by Mahatma Gandhi. At this time, Tej Bahadur Sapru and M.R. Zaikar insisted Lord Irwin to speak to Gandhi. to speak one of the major leaders of Indian National Congress, and that is Mahatma Gandhi. And finally, this led to Gandhi-Irwin Pact, which we had discussed previously. So what was Gandhi-Irwin Pact all about? Like, I'll give you a few examples. Lord Irwin, the Viceroy of India at that time, accepted certain demands of Mahatma Gandhi. And in fact, Mahatma Gandhi, he accepted one of the demands of Lord Irwin to temporarily suspend the civil disobedience movement. Okay, so what were the major demands that was being accepted by Lord Irwin? One of the major demands that was being accepted by release of all the political prisoners not guilty of violence. Apart from this, giving back the confiscated properties of the satyagrahis if it is not sold to the third party. Correct? Remission of the fines which is not yet collected, or the fines that have been collected, it should be given back. Okay? And there were few demands of Mahatma Gandhi which was not being accepted by Lord Irwin. One of the demand was commutation of the death sentence of Bhagat Singh ji. Correct? And second demand, during the suppression of the movement, Britishers have adopted a very brutal policy of suppression. So Mahatma Gandhi, he asked the Britishers particularly to go for an impartial inquiry into the police excess. But this was again been denied by Lord Irwin. Okay. And secondly, he represented Indian National Congress in second round table conference, and it temporarily suspended the civil disobedience movement. That was majorly the Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Hope so the first round table conference is clear. Okay. Second round table conference, like, it was held in less auspicious environment. Why? Because the government has changed now. Initially there was a labor government. Now particularly there's a coalition government. And coalition government works on a different ideological perspective. Apart from this, Secretary of State of India has changed. Apart from this, the Viceroy of India has changed. Lord Willingdon, he has become the Viceroy of India. Samuel Hoare, he was the Secretary of State for India. And in this environment, Winston Churchill said to Mahatma Gandhi, naked seditious fakir. Seditious basically means a person who creates a chaotic situation against the government. Person who creates a state of anarchy or lawlessness. This was said by Winston Churchill against Mahatma Gandhi. And in this inauspicious environment, the second roundtable conference was held. Second roundtable conference was being participated by huge number of delegates. Depressed classes represented by B.R. Ambedkar. Women section represented by Sarojini Naidu. Apart from this, the Muslim League being represented by Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Muhammad Ali, Aga Khan, and many more. So there were different, political parties that participated in the second roundtable conference. At that particular point of time, specifically, the Britishers said, the Congress alone does not represent entire British India. But Mahatma Gandhi said, Congress is a huge political party that represents every section of the Indian society. So Congress alone represents the British India. And when M.K. Gandhi will say Congress alone represents British India, what will happen? Obviously, there is going to be a clash between the different political parties that have participated in the second roundtable conference. Apart from this, M.K. Gandhi had put forward certain demands in front of Britishers. Responsible government both at the center and the provinces should be established immediately. In simple words, Mahatma Gandhi or M.K. Gandhi at this time was seeking for transfer of power. Then, Congress alone represented the political India and not any other political party. Now, depressed class, as I've told you, was being represented by B.R. Ambedkar. Rather it be the first roundtable conference, second roundtable conference, or the third roundtable conference. One of the major demands of B.R. Ambedkar was separate electorate for the untouchables. But Mahatma Gandhi said, untouchable, here the major thing should be root eradication of untouchability. correct? And not separate electorate. Separate electorate is a key wherein we divide the people. And untouchables are not minorities, they are part of Hinduism itself. So there shouldn't be any separate electorate for any minority particularly or specifically the depressed class. Obviously, what is going to happen here? As I've told you, different political parties participated from India. And there is going to be ideological differences here. Like there would be ideological differences between the views of Indian National Congress and Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Muhammad Ali, Aga Khan, and so on. So, the second roundtable conferences, the major decision here that was taken was 2 new Muslim provinces would be created, that is Northwestern Frontier Province, and Sindh would be carved out of Bombay Presidency. And this was done in Government of India Act 1935. 3 consultative committee would be created. That is Finance, Franchisee, and States. And communal award would be announced if all the political parties of India accepted. And finally, communal award was being announced. It is also referred as McDonnell Award. Okay? Because the Prime Minister was Ramsay MacDonald. Third roundtable conference was held. And specifically speaking, in the third roundtable conference, Congress did not participate. Meanwhile, what happened? It is believed that many historians say Mahatma Gandhi came back to pavilion on duck. In that case, when he came back to India, he revived the civil disobedience movement which was temporarily suspended. And when he revived the civil disobedience movement, what happened? Police excess, press was gagged. Okay, lathi charge was done on the people. Apart from this, there were many satyagrahis who were being imprisoned. Picketing of liquor shop. Specifically what happened, those people who were picketing in front of liquor shops, they were being arrested, they were being beaten up, they were being put behind the bars. Okay. So all these things started again back in India. And at that time, third roundtable conference was held in London. Third roundtable conference, in fact, it is believed that Congress was not invited to the conference. And in this conference, for the first time, Chaudhry Rahmat Ali coined the term Pakistan. I repeat, the term Pakistan was not being coined by Muhammad Ali Jinnah. The term Pakistan for the first time was being coined by Chaudhry Rahmat Ali, a separate nation for the Muslims. And what was the major outcome of third roundtable conference? A white paper was issued which became the basis for Government of India Act 1935, also referred as mini constitution. So hope so you understood these 3 roundtable conferences, guys. Yes. Yes, guys. Hope you understood the 3 roundtable conferences. Any query, any doubt? Yes. Okay, just a second. So, Karachi session of Indian National Congress, 1931. Answer this in the comment section, guys. Like, by now we have seen that Britishers, there were many British officers who were quite brutal towards Indians particularly. Isn't that so? They followed the policy of racial segregation, racial discrimination, and so on. But there was one Britisher who supported the communist ideology. And he was specifically a lecturer. He was particularly a spy. In fact, he used to collect the information from the British Parliament and provide it to the Communist Parties of India. His name was Michael John Carrot. I repeat, Michael John Carrot. Correct? Answer in the comment section. What do you know more about Michael John Carrot? How did he started supporting the people of India? How he believed, a staunch believer in the Communist parties and communist ideology? Answer in the comment section, guys. Okay. Now coming back to Karachi session of Indian National Congress 1931, which was being presided by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel ji. Okay. Now, a brief synopsis about Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. We have seen about the Kheda Satyagraha. We have seen about the Bardoli Satyagraha. Kheda, it's a specifically place in Gujarat. And in 1918, There hit a famine in Kheda region, which is referred as Chappaniya Akal. Chappaniya Akal basically means it has impacted or affected 56 regions in the region of Gujarat. As per different historians, as per the official records, 17,000 people lost their life. And at that time, Britishers had increased the taxes by 23%. In such situation, Vallabhbhai Patel emerged the leader at that time. Vallabhbhai Patel, Narhari Parikh, Ravi Shankar Vyas, Mohanlal Pandya, all these campaigned against this British, exploitative character. And no revenue campaign was being launched. Vallabhbhai was being supported by Gujarat Sabha of Mahatma Gandhi. And finally, the taxes for the current year and the next year was being suspended. Vallabhbhai Patel ji again became an active participant in Bardoli Satyagraha. The same situation, Bardoli was continuously hit by floods and famine from 1925 onwards itself. And in this inauspicious situation, what did the Britishers do? They increased the taxes by 22%. Many books reveal that it was 30%. But majority of the book says that it was 22%. So he increased the taxes by Britishers increased the taxes by 22%. The prime responsibility of the government during the situation of famine is mitigation and rehabilitation. Vallabhbhai Patel again took the charge of the peasants. He launched no revenue campaign. He sensitized the peasants through Bardoli Satyagraha Patrika. Young India magazine of Mahatma Gandhi also played a very pivotal role in sensitizing the masses. 13 chhavnis or camps were being organized by Vallabhbhai Patel for the cause of the peasants. And finally, Maxwell Broomfield Commission was being created in Bardoli. And the taxes were not increased by 22%, it was just increased by 6.03%. So that was Bardoli Satyagraha. For the first time, Vallabhbhai Patel ji was given the title of Sardar by women of Bardoli. So Vallabhbhai Patel also played a very crucial role in different peasant movements across India. Now, the Karachi session of Indian National Congress was held in Karachi, as the name suggests, under the presidentship of Vallabhbhai Patel ji. Okay. Now, Mahatma Gandhi, he was going to Karachi to attend the session. And when he was going to Karachi to attend the session, throughout his way, he was being greeted with black flags. And the demonstration was being conducted by Punjab Naujawan Bharat Sabha of Bhagat Singh ji. Why? Because 6 days prior to the session, specifically, Bhagat Singh ji, Rajguru ji and Sukhdev ji, they were being executed by the Britishers. And Mahatma Gandhi, as per many historians, was not able to commute the death sentence of these three martyrs. Finally, Mahatma Gandhi reached Karachi, the session started, and the Indian National Congress admired, revered and respected the martyrhood of these three revered leaders, Bhagat Singh ji, Rajguru ji and Sukhdev ji. And then began the Karachi session. For the first time, Karachi session particularly focused on fundamental rights and economic planning. So what were the key aspects of fundamental rights that were being discussed? Let's have a look. Certain aspects again are reflected in our present day constitution. Freedom of speech, press, assembly and to form association. Article 19, correct guys? In the present day constitution, like there should be complete freedom of speech. Press, particularly speaking, media is acting as a channel of communication between the government and the governed. And the media should be given the complete authority to publish something that is true. Correct? Because how will the government come to know about the plight of the people? Through media. How will the people come to know about the policies of the government? Through media. So complete freedom should be given to the press. Universal adult franchise, as I've told you, 1892 indirect elections, 1919, the people who had a taxable income of 3,000 rupees had right to vote. Here the demand is the age criteria. In Nehru report also we had studied, person with 21 years of age and who is not of unsound mind has the authority to vote. Same thing reiterated here. Equal rights irrespective of the caste, creed and gender. certain aspects are reflected in DPSP today. Correct? Equal pay for equal work, if you remember. Okay. Neutrality of state in religious matters. Simple words, secularism. Free and compulsory education, free and compulsory primary education. This was also a part of Nai Talim. If you remember, guys, we had discussed Nai Talim of Mahatma Gandhi, also referred as Warda scheme of educations, whose syllabus was being designed by Dr. Zakir Hussain. And one of the clauses of Nai Talim or Warda scheme of education was, yes guys, one of the clauses states that free and compulsory education up to 7 years of age. True? Protection of culture, language, script of minorities and linguistic groups, equality before law, presently represented in Article 14 of the Constitution. This is also reflected in what we say Article 28 to 30 of the Constitution. Isn't that so? Apart from this, this was also a part of the Nehru report. So these things, the resolution was taken on fundamental rights, and then comes economic planning. Substantial reduction in the rent and the taxes, exemption of rent from uneconomic holdings, relief from agriculture indebtedness. Now, I'll give you few examples for easier understanding of the concept. Okay? Like, we had seen time and again about Zamindari system, Rayatwari system and Mahalwari system. In Zamindari system, Zamindar acted as a middleman between company on one side, the British Raj on the one side and the peasants on the other side. Zamindar collected the revenue from the peasants, kept his share, that is 11%, and 89% of the revenue went to the company in the coming years to the British Raj. And Zamindar used to exploit the peasants a lot. Later on, there was Rayatwari system where the land was classified into 3 categories on the basis of productivity and the fertility of the soil. Now, the Britishers directly collected the revenue from the peasants. And when Britishers directly collected the revenue from the peasants, and if the peasants are unable to pay the revenue to the Britishers, what will happen? Their land was being confiscated. Their land shouldn't get confiscated. So in that case, what will the peasants do? They will go to the money lenders. And in that case, money lenders used to charge high interest rates. Now under Rayatwari system, the peasants were dually exploited. If they are unable to pay the exorbitant rent, can you imagine? 60 to 66% was the rent on the fertile land, tax. 50 to 55% was a tax on average land. 40 to 45% was a tax, particularly on the barren land. And in that case, now the peasants are dually exploited. If the peasants are unable to pay the tax to the company or the Britishers, their land would be confiscated. If the peasant is unable to pay the interest to the moneylender, again his land would be confiscated. So the peasants got agriculturally indebted. Apart from this, commercialization of agriculture only benefited the rich peasants and the Britishers. But maximum number of peasants, they got indebted. I'll give you one of the finest example about this. Indigo agitation of Bengal that we had studied. Indigo agitation of Bengal immediately took place after revolt of 1857. And in that case, what happened? Now, specifically speaking, indigo, it's also referred as blue gold. And it is particularly used as a dye. Britishers came up with 2 systems, Nij and Rayati system. Under Nij system, Britishers cultivated indigo on the lands they owned or hired. But under Rayati system, Britishers cultivated indigo on what we say specific. They forced the peasants to cultivate indigo on at least 25% of their land, 1/4 of their land. And in that case, Britishers gave loans to the peasants to cultivate indigo, and these loans were referred as Dadon. Now, commercialization of agriculture although benefited the Britishers and rich peasants, what happened? Many of the peasants in the region of Nadia district of Bengal, they became indebted. Correct? So, release the peasants from agriculture indebtedness. Rights of workers and the peasants to form unions, because trade union movement had began in the country now. Okay, answer in the comment section about All India Trade Union Congress. When it was held, who was the secretary and who was the president of it. State ownership of the key industries like mines and means of transport. Okay, so Karachi session endorsed the Gandhi-Irwin Pact. It supported the Gandhi-Irwin Pact. So all these major things were discussed as a part of Karachi session of Indian National Congress. In a simple words, in a single line, Karachi session majorly focused on fundamental rights and economic planning. Got it, guys? Yes. Okay. Now let's speak about Communal Award 1932. This award was announced on 16th August 1932 by the British Prime Minister Ramsay MacDonald. Hence, it is also referred as MacDonald Award. Now let's understand the core things of this award. Existing seats of the provincial legislatures would be doubled. Correct. Now we had seen there are different provincial legislatures such as Bombay, Bengal, Madras, United Province, Central Province, Assam, Burma and Punjab. So whatever seats are there in this provincial legislature, they would be increased. System of separate electorate for minority was retained. As discussed earlier, ample amount of times, minority, particularly Muslims, were given separate electorate in 1909, which was further extended to, which was further extended to Sikh, Anglo-Indians and Europeans in 1919. Again, another important fact was, now separate electorate was also being given to whom? The minority status was also being given to the depressed section. 3% seats were reserved for women in every constituency except the Northwest Frontier Province. In Bombay Presidency, 7 seats were reserved for Marathas. And we had seen again while back what is separate electorate. In simple words, what was the basic objective, what was the basic purpose of Communal Award? The basic objective of Communal Award year was particularly, separate electorate to the depressed section represented by B.R. Ambedkar. Correct? Against this, now what will happen? Mahatma Gandhi will start fast unto death in Yerawada jail. And finally, there would be signing of a pact between Mahatma Gandhi and B.R. Ambedkar, and that pact would be referred as Pune Pact. Why? Because Mahatma Gandhi believed that the minority section given to the depressed class or the untouchables particularly, they were Hindus, and Britishers have played another card by dividing the people. Initially they have divided on communal lines, now they are dividing the people on casteist lines. So a Pune Pact was being signed. Hope so you understood the session, guys. Yes. Did you understand the round table conferences, economic planning and fundamental rights Karachi session and the Communal Award? Hope the points are clear, guys. As I've told you, the session won't be much longer. Okay. Answer few questions of mine, guys. Okay. I'll ask you 2 to 3 questions. Please answer these questions in the comment section. The revolt of 1857 is a battle between the black and white, was said by. Second question. The revolt of 1857 is a war between fanatic religionists against Christianity, was said by. Okay. Third major question. The revolt of 1857, particularly from the Odisha, was being led by whom? Fourth major question, specifically, the term Pakistan was coined for the first time in which roundtable conference and by whom? Okay, answer these questions in the comment section, guys. Hope so the session was interesting. You got to learn something new. Okay, guys, again, for the people or the aspirants who are new to the platform, you can download the PDF of the session from my Telegram channel, history_Alok Ojha. Okay, UPSC Evening Foundation Batch has already started. Okay, now it is just launched and it has beautiful key features such as Prelims and Mains Residential Program. Apart from this, rupees 11,000 reward to the top monthly performer. Once you qualify the prelims, the fee would be refunded, and there's an interview guidance program as well. You can, avail the benefits of this batch by using my code. You can enroll in this batch by using my code that is flashing on your screen. That is Alok Live. Okay. So guys, please keep on revising the concept. We'll upload the PDF of the session soon on the Telegram channel. Hope so. Guys, everything is fit and fine. I'll stop my words for the day. Thank you and have a wonderful day.